G'day mates, today's video is going to be covering all the insane team swaps we just saw on NA East. We had Khanada and Peterbot have one of the most dominant performances we've seen in a Cash Cup to kick off the season, and less than 5 hours later they have now split as a team. And it's not just them as well. We no longer have Miro and Acorn, we no longer have Ages and Rise, we have so many new teams, and of course at the heart of all of it is Booga. He's copping a lot of flack for being the snake, but I want to defend him here and explain exactly what happened and who's now playing with who, because this is ridiculous. Also, I'm going to talk at the end of today's video about all the teams and pros quitting at the moment. Why are so many OG pros like Saf, Airwax, X8 stepping away from the game all of a sudden, and should we be concerned? Is this a bad sign for the future of competitive Fortnite? There's a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into it. Now, before I even get into talking about who did well in the Cash Cups and talk about the insane placements, I need to talk about this snakening that's just gone on NA East, because this involves pretty much all the best teams in NA East. And before I even talk about the leaderboard, I need to talk about this because half the teams that are up there on the leaderboard, including Khanada and Peterbot, who just won in insane fashion, have now split. Our first place team from today's Cash Cup that I was so excited to talk about as one of the most dominant performances we've seen so far this season are no longer playing together. Now, whenever there's a snakening, I know what you guys already are instantly going to think. How is Booga involved? And yes, Booga is involved, but I've seen a lot of people in the scene thinking that Booga started all of this, and I don't believe that is the case. I have it on good authority that this all started when Ages dropped Rise for Khanada, and that's what kicked off the trickle-on effect. So let's start off there. So we now have Ages no longer playing with Rise and is now playing with Khanada. Now, if you didn't watch the NA East Duo Cash Cup today, that might come as a huge surprise because Ages and Rise actually went 6-0 today against Sprite and D-Roller. They won 6 games out of 6 at Greasy Grove. Going 6-0 against another phenomenal team like that with top tier players is incredibly hard to do, and was a really good statement for this team going forward. So I'm not really sure why Ages has dropped Rise for Khanada. Like, yes, it's Khanada and he just won the Cash Cup and he's insane, but I feel like a lot of people are starting to realize just how good Rise is. But unfortunately, Rise has now been dropped. That has caused a big trickle-on effect now, because obviously that means Khanada is no longer playing with Peterbot. Peterbot tweeting out looking for duo for everything. We had Khanada then vouch obviously this tweet as well, and I think Peterbot hit back with what I assume is a joke here, saying he doesn't really care. We then also had Peterbot tweet out all these people finding teammates and I'm just here, which means that Peterbot in all of this still has not found a team either, and I believe neither has Rise. So let's talk about how Booga fits into all of this as well. Another team that's a top tier team that I actually predicted to win the Duo Cash Cup today was Acorn and Miro. They now have Tilted Towers. It's finally in the game. They got the north side of Tilted to themselves. They were playing really good. I believe they finished up 3rd, or at least top 5. I think top 5 in the very end. So still a good performance, but again, as a lot of us know, top 5 really doesn't cut it for Miro. Miro has won the last 2 major FNCSs in a row and the solo Cash Cup to kick off the season. I think he wants to continue that dominance, and who better to do that with than the player that he did all of that with? We now have Miro and Booga playing together in duos. Obviously, they won FNCS Grand Royale together. They had separate thirds when they did that. They had a different trio, but they were the 2 main components together during all of that. So it makes sense to think that would be a really good duo. We also now have Booga and Miro going Chonkers Speedway, which is obviously the drop that Booga was going with Skittles. It is a phenomenal drop. It is actually insane. Tilted is still the better drop. It has more chest. It has insane non-box. It has slow barrels. Reese Hub actually did a fantastic video talking about how broken Tilted is, but quite often you won't get Tilted uncontested. It will have 2 to 3 teams, even in FNCS Grand Finals on any region, I believe anyway, where Chonkers is a lot easier to get a good amount of it. So I think that Booga and Miro actually do have a better chance going there rather than trying to hold down Tilted Towers. That also means we now have Skittles floating around in the mist. I don't know who Skittles is playing with at the moment. So Skittles, Peterbot, and Rise are now all 3 players unaccounted for, and Acorn. That is 4 really, really big names that are floating around. These pros never make it easy on me. I've just finished up this video. I was relaxing with my wife, and now it turns out Skittles and Peterbot are now playing together. Skittles tweeted out landing Peterbot's Lake all events at Peterbot. So again, just editing this in here, it looks like Skittles and Peterbot are together. Remember, any of this could change by the time the video actually goes live. These guys are crazy, but that's how it stands as of now. I thought when I saw Ages and stuff moving in parts, DGen might be involved, but I guess because Ages went straight with Khanada, DGen is still going to be playing with Iomzo. So as far as it stands, those are the new teams. Khanada and Ages are going to be going Greasy Grove as well. So they've now taken Rise's drop spots. Not only was Rise dropped, he also has lost the drop spot that he's put a lot of time and knowledge into, which is really really upsetting, but that's the way it goes. We're in Cash Cups right now. We're a few weeks out from FNCS, or well, they said it's going to happen mid-February, so we are about 2 to 3 weeks out from FNCS. Teams are going to keep shaking up, and I know you might be thinking, oh, if it always involves Booga, it's boring, who cares? I do care, because these right now were like 6 or 7 of the best teams in NA East, and they've now swapped, and we have 4 of the best players just floating around looking for new teams. When I've been talking about and breaking down the different regions, I've been going in order with EU, NA East, NA West, but let's just jump in with NA East because I just got done talking about all the crazy team swaps over there. So now looking at the leaderboard, you can realize how ridiculous this was. Peterbot and Khanada, who came in first on 244 points. They had over 40 points clear of second place, 6 matches played, 1 win with an average elims of 6.17 and an average placement of 7th. They placed outside the top 10 in set lobby duos in 6 games once. This was one of the most dominant performances we've seen all season from a duo, and they split less than 5 hours after us. So insane. We'll move on to Muzz and Avery. Super huge performance from them. The first time we've seen them play in a set lobby. Remember last week they didn't make qualifiers because of Muzz's internet. This week they did make qualifiers, placing top 5 yesterday in NA East. Muzz also played top 5 NA West, so looking real good, getting a 203 point second place. Game 1, got to put my man Muzz on blast a little bit, kind of dropped the ball. 10 players were going for a launch pad in zone. He managed to drop down and spray it out as he was about to land on it. That started this giant just dog pile effect of everyone fighting each other. They all ended up dying, but outside of that game, they were incredibly consistent. If you discount that game, their next worst game was an 18th place, but they managed to get 2 wins, a 7 elim win and an 11 elim win, 4 elim 7th and a 1 elim 10th. So really, really good games from them. We also saw Threats and Users in 3rd place on the back of a huge clutch from Threats in the very last game of the day. He really did pop off. He got a 10 elim second, where I think he got 8 elims of them himself and just went absolutely crazy as a solo. Was solo for all the rotating zones. Genuinely a huge performance from Threats. We had Aegis and Rise come in 4th, who again no longer together, so 2 teams 1st and 4th have now split. And like I said, Aegis and Rise were contested 6 games out of 6 on spawn by Sprite and D-Roll, and they still came 4th. So just mind-boggling to think they split as well, but Aegis clearly thinks he has a better chance with Khanada for whatever reason. I know Khanada's the GOAT, but that still blows my mind. Joji and Rokane in 5th. We had Acorn and Miro in 6th, who again have now split. Cold and Centered in 7th, Jamper Tragics 8th, Nico Polarized 9th, and then Rhythm and Milks in 10th. So when I break down leaderboard like that, it does seem insane. And I wanted to touch on a team that I talked about a lot yesterday, and I said that Day and Clicks finally found the recipe for their success, and it was finally picking up a coach and performing really well. And you might be surprised. You see them in 11th place. Aussie, you must have been wrong. Well, not really. It was super unfortunate. Day and Clicks actually disconnected from 3 out of their 6 games. Day crashed once, Day crashed once, and Clicks' internet went out twice. So in their 6 games, only 3 of them were they actually a full duo. So it was really unfortunate to see, because in those 3 games, they did really, really well. They got a 4 elim 9th, they got a 4 elim 6th, and then Clicks managed to clutch up a 0 elim 10th by himself, and then a 4 elim 7th. So of the 3 games they played together, 4 elim 7th, 4 elim 6th, and 4 elim 9th. That is a phenomenal performance. So again, hopes are still high for Day and Clicks, but I thought I'd include that in there because I know a lot of people in the comments are going to take their chance to start calling Day and Clicks washed again, and I had to defend my boys. Looking over at EU, and it's a very, very fun side to see. An OG duo, Aqua and Stompy, coming in first on 183. They did it out of contested Bugle, which makes it even more exciting. This team is a clinic of how to play height. Yes, they're using the Spider-Man. A lot of people are going to discredit that, but Aqua learns how to play height in whatever meta he plays. It doesn't matter what meta it is, Aqua will figure out how. Yes, getting high ground and putting yourself in a position with Spider-Man can be technically easier, but everyone else can do it as well, and no one is doing it as well as Aqua. If you want to know how to take high ground, when to take it, and how to hold it, go back and watch Aqua and Stompy's games from today's EU Cash Cup. I think they had high ground on rotating zones, I believe 4 of the 6 games, so they played phenomenally, and of those 4 games, they were the games they made endgame. They went down a 1 elim 21st and a 1 elim 20th, but outside of that, it was a 4 elim 8th, a 5 elim 2nd, a 7 elim 1st, and a 2 elim 2nd. Just insane consistency. We had Joe and Tomsy, a very underrated team, in 2nd on 171. We had Booback and Chapix, who came 1st yesterday. Again, like I said, beating out the cheaters by over 20 points. We have now since confirmed that team was cheating. Obviously, I don't say that on my videos lightly. We were 99% sure. Turns out they were actually, again, using their social media to advertise hacks. So again, just thought I'd include that. Some people thought it was weird that I kind of accused them of cheating, but didn't. They were. We also had Mustache and Malibuka in 4th, who are having a massive start to the season, looking like one of the favorites to take it potentially later during FNCS. Then we had pretty much a French runner, Floki and Clement 5th, and a Kinzel Deceptov 6th. We had Hen Queasy in 7th, Vidil Rezon in 8th, Tayson and Thomas HD in 9th, and then Relvis and Krusty in 10th. So again, a lot of the names you'd expect to see in the top 10, and I want to take that chance to highlight that. I know there's a lot of complaints about the current meta, saying it's not skillful, SMGs, blah, blah, blah. If you look at the leaderboard right now for top 10 NA East and top 10 EU, they are some of the best teams in the world and the teams you'd expect to do well. There is clearly something some teams are doing better. You can't just blame the meta. There are clearly some pros who are adapting better than others. I'm not going to turn around and try and say that they're enjoying it. Some of these teams are still miserable. Centered is losing his mind. I think Tayson is as well, despite still doing well. But I just wanted to kind of use that for a lot of you guys out there who are maybe demotivated. There is a way to figure it out in this meta. And honestly, from someone who's been watching it, I'm seeing some players and some teams really put the pieces together and find good consistency in a meta where a lot of people are struggling. I've been apologizing on my channel a lot at the moment. I'm gonna have to do so again. NA West, I made a statement yesterday that on NA West, all the big teams made it. That could not have been more wrong. I don't know what I was looking at or what I was thinking. I've watched almost all the NA West games before I had to end my stream and go to a meeting, but somehow in that time, we were missing all of the biggest players in NA West. Reed only just scraped in. Epic Well and Arkram weren't in there. Like, it was crazy. And to show that, NA West ended up being won by an NA East team. No surprise. We had Cold and Centered come out in 1st on NA East. We had Defiable and Mojo in 2nd. We had another NA East team, a brand new team for that matter as well. Oliver OG and Playify. Oliver OG now no longer playing with Asian Jeff. We had Jagveer and Pro Solution. We had Vanillas and Wale, Haji and Suscript, Kwa and Dom. I mean, I'm just reading an NA East leaderboard at this point with a few NA West teams, so you get the picture. NA West tournament this week wasn't really the best indicator of what talent NA West has to offer. It was probably one of the more unstacked tournaments. Don't want to take away any of the performances from the people in it. I just want to kind of undo what I said yesterday, where I really could not have been more wrong. I saved this topic from yesterday to cover in today's video, and it is one that has me a little bit sad, and I'm getting asked about it a lot. What is going on with all the pros quitting? And if you guys haven't seen, we have had some really big ones in the last few days. We had most notably Saf, Airwax, and X8. So 3 of the most prominent, most notable players in their regions, and have been for a very long time. This has a lot of people upset. There have been a lot of other people quit recently that didn't get as much attention that I still think are worth mentioning. We've had on NAEs people like Furious, Dictating, Eclipse, Zunies, obviously Zate a while ago, Gonzo. There's a lot more. I've obviously heard some of the EU players as well out there. Like, I've heard we have, I believe, Mexi and Michael have stopped playing. I believe there's even more than that. So it's super sad to see, and people keep asking me what's my opinion on it. Am I scared? Do I think Fortnite's dying? I don't really think, and a lot of them, if you actually go back and look at what they've said for their reason for quitting, it's not about chapter 3. It's not, oh my god, SMGs suck, I can't play this, Epic's not listening. If you look at most of their reasonings, Saf, for example, was he got messed around by Orgs a lot, which really put a bad taste in his mouth about Fortnite. If you look at Airwax, it's about Lands not coming back, and if Lands or World Cup do come back, he's going to come back to it. So a lot of them don't really just have this, oh, the meta sucks, I don't like Fortnite. A lot of them, you can see they've just progressively fallen out of love with the game over a long period of time, and I think that long break with no tournaments over Christmas really made a lot of people sit back and think, like, I actually don't want to play the game anymore. I don't enjoy it, and I don't enjoy competing. So I'm not going to say the current meta isn't a factor, but I'm also not going to sit here and then use this as like a platform for, oh my gosh, Epic changed the game, the meta's terrible, and the SMG is going to make all the pros quit, because I just don't think that's the case. There's a lot of pros who like the SMG, and as always with Fortnite, there's going to be a lot of new, young, up-and-coming pros who are going to take their place. I feel like at the moment, because of all the accusation of cheaters and all the issues with cheaters, which I think I understand are fully warranted, people are upset right now. There's a lot of cheaters up there. It's making people focus on and think that everyone who's popping off and doing well and placing are cheaters if they're new, which kind of makes this storyline a little bit sad, because usually when we have these pros quitting, we have other pros equally popping off and going crazy out of nowhere and being like, wow, like, look at this guy. And it kind of makes you, it doesn't replace the pros we've lost, but it makes you realize the Fortnite ecosystem and the scene is going to be okay. There's big pros leaving, but there's new people, you know, filling their shoes and popping off. So I think people have to remember that at the end of the day, Fortnite being an open esports, it has a very short lifespan for a lot of the top tier pros. It's why you always hear, oh, they're washed, they fell off. It's really hard for pros pros to stay on top at the moment. And again, a lot of these OG guys like Saf, like Airwax, they went back to the lands. They were going to skirmishes. They were going to World Cup. They were getting flown around the world, going to pro-ams. Like, they lived the high life. And when you come into COVID and all these online tournaments, it's never going to stack up. It's always going to be a little bit more depressing. So I'm sure there's some elements of maybe they didn't like the way Fortnite went as a direction when it came to, like, you know, the meta or how the games play out. But ultimately, I think it was inevitable. These players were always eventually going to get over the game. And it's a game that you have to put so much time in to stay on top of, to be at the top, because any little Timmy who's over 13 with a PC or even a console or anything, they can jump on and play and compete, and they're vying for your spot. They're after you. If you don't keep on top of your game, you're gonna get replaced and you're gonna get overtaken. But you gotta remember, that's half of what makes Fortnite so great. I think if LAN events came back, it would really motivate a lot of these pros to stick around, like a World Cup or major LANs. Unfortunately, COVID really has derailed Fortnite competitive and thrown a spanner in the work for a lot of this. We are now looking at probably, I'm gonna guess, almost another entire year of online tournaments. And as sad as that is, I really want LAN events. I'm literally traveling to North America in less than 2 weeks. One of the main reasons for that was when LAN events came back, I wanted to be able to go to them. I'm still happy I'm going, but it's messed up plans for a lot of people, and I'm super sad to see people like Saf and Airwax go, who I've met personally. I went to AO with both of them, amazing people, but at the same time, I think Fortnite's going to be okay, and I think a lot of people are taking these pros quitting as a sign of, oh my gosh, Fortnite's dying, competitive is over, and I just don't think that's the case. Alright guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.